In the early days of World War II, 77 American military nurses, 66 from the Army and 11 from the Navy, found themselves stationed in the Philippines when Japanese forces attacked in December 1941. These nurses would soon become known as the Angels of Bataan and Corregidor, surviving one of the most harrowing experiences in American military nursing history. As Japanese forces advanced through the Philippines, the nurses worked tirelessly in open-air field hospitals and underground bunkers on Bataan and Corregidor. They treated thousands of casualties while enduring bombing raids, disease, and severe shortages of food and medical supplies. In makeshift jungle hospitals, they cared for over 6,000 patients across 18 open-air wards, working through bombardments and deteriorating conditions. When Bataan fell to Japanese forces on April 9, 1942, the nurses were captured and became prisoners of war, marking them as the largest group of American women ever taken captive by an enemy. They were initially interned at Santo Tomas internment camp in Manila, with some Navy nurses later transferred to Los Baños. Despite their imprisonment, these remarkable women continued to serve as a nursing unit throughout their 3-year captivity. They treated fellow prisoners while enduring severe malnutrition, disease, and harsh conditions. Their daily rations often consisted of just 700 calories, leading to severe weight loss and health issues. Yet they persevered, maintaining their professional duties and supporting one another through the darkest days of their imprisonment. On February 3, 1945, American forces finally liberated Santo Tomas internment camp. Remarkably, all 77 nurses survived their 3-year ordeal as prisoners of war. Upon their return home, they were awarded Bronze Stars for their service and valor. Their story stands as a testament to extraordinary courage, resilience, and dedication to duty in the face of unimaginable adversity.
In the annals of World War II, countless stories of heroism remain untold. Among them are the remarkable tales of Sally Hitchcock and Ada Clarke.
On Easter morning, April 20, 1919, as women across America still fought for the right to vote, Sally B. Hitchcock was born at home in Bristol, Connecticut. She was the daughter of Ruth, a former Waterbury elementary school teacher who graduated from Pembroke, and Arthur Hitchcock, who worked at New Departure manufacturing coaster brakes for bikes. From the start, her parents fostered a love of reading, writing, and curiosity that would shape her entire life. Growing up on Woodland Street in Bristol, young Sally's adventurous spirit emerged early. She would care tenderly for her dolls Heidi and Michael, an early sign of her future calling as a nurse. But this gentle play contrasted with her bold outdoor escapades. At just 7 years old, she'd confidently led her pony Dandy to the blacksmith alone, a feat that makes modern parents shudder. Winter brought special joy as she and other neighborhood children would race down Page Park Hill on their sleds, the town thoughtfully closing roads after snowstorms for their entertainment. Her childhood friendship with Benny Joy and the Ingram family filled her Bristol days with adventure. Perhaps her most daring exploits involved her brother John. Together they'd climb the local water tower for illicit swims, though she drew the line at his train-hopping habits. "I only tried that once," she'd later recall with a laugh, "and thought my brother was crazy." She also nursed a horse named Buddy back to health, and their partnership led to victories in champion horse shows. Academic excellence marked her youth. After collecting chemistry prizes at Bristol High School, she graduated from Smith College with a degree in geology. Her pursuit of knowledge didn't stop there. She went on to earn a master's degree in nursing from Yale University. When World War II called, her combined artistic skills and geological training made her a prime candidate for cartography in the war effort. Instead, following her heart's calling, she chose nursing, a decision she never regretted. Sally Hitchcock answered her country's call during World War II on June 21, 1944, embarking on a journey that would take her thousands of miles from home to the Southwest Pacific Theater. As a first lieutenant in the Army Nurse Corps, Sally's wartime story unfolded across the tropical landscapes of New Guinea and the Philippines. In New Guinea, she worked tirelessly in hospital tents, caring for wounded soldiers under challenging conditions. Her letters home captured the daily realities of military medical care, the humidity that crept into everything, the makeshift facilities, and the constant flow of injured servicemen requiring attention.
Dear Mom and Dad, December 9, 1944. I'm so glad to be working. I have 40 patients. There are 2 of us plus the ward men. There is so much to do. I never thought I'd be able to probe and dig and scrub open wounds. You have to do it. In one draining wound, I probed and pulled out a piece of shrapnel. You have to keep a stiff upper lip, and so do the men, but it's emotionally draining to see such wounds. All we can do is help heal them. They are so young. The other day I was working on a very young soldier who had been all shot up. He was depressed, saying he'd never get up again. I laughed and said, "Of course you will." I cut up a shoe for his good foot and found him some crutches. He looked aghast and said he couldn't. He was 19 yesterday. They are all so young. Another patient had his left hand amputated. He's gutsy. He always smiles and jokes and does everything for himself. Yesterday I was doing dressings on his legs and we got to talking. He had been accepted into Harvard Medical School, then got drafted. "Well," he said, "I was lucky to get off with no bodily injuries." I encouraged him to realize how much he could do with one hand and a prosthesis on the other. At least he'll go home. What a spirit.
In the dense jungles of New Guinea during World War II, First Lieutenant Sally Hitchcock found herself stationed at the 54th General Hospital in Hollandia, a critical staging area in the northern region. The assignment was particularly challenging, as Japanese soldiers still lurked in the surrounding mountains, adding an element of danger to their medical duties. Working in makeshift hospital tents, Sally was part of a dedicated medical team that provided crucial care to the wounded servicemen. The hospital environment was far from the sterile corridors she had known during her training. Instead, Sally and her fellow nurses adapted to working in open-air wards, where they had to contend not only with medical emergencies but also with the challenges of the tropical climate. The humidity clung to Sally's skin as she made her way across the makeshift hospital compound. The wooden buildings, hastily constructed in the midst of the New Guinea jungle, creaked under the weight of the tropical afternoon rain. As a newly graduated nurse serving in the U.S. Army during World War II, she had never imagined she'd find herself here, thousands of miles from Bristol, with the calls of exotic birds providing the soundtrack to her daily rounds.
Dear Mom and Dad, August 7, 1945. It's my 3rd night on nights, wards 1, 2, 3, and 4, 2 skins and 2 medical wards. My first 2 nights were very busy. Some mighty sick men. Sometimes the Army makes me very angry. For 2 nights I raised rim to the MD about one patient, and for 2 nights the MD kept saying, "We can't do anything tonight." When the day crew came on at the end of my 2nd night, I raised the roof. An action took place. An operation for an intestinal obstruction. Nights is not too bad this time. The 4 ward men are hard workers, and after the first couple of nights I'm not too busy. Love. Me. Dear Mom and Dad, October 28, 1944. Cheryl and I have latrine duty every morning now, cleaning and scrubbing our facilities. We all have jobs to police the area, but Cheryl and I got this first. It's not the most pleasant, but it has to be done like we used to clean bedpans in nursing school. It's a good feeling to leave the area spruced up and shining. Just a note more about our tent. It's really homey now. We use my pail upside down as a seat under the light to write letters. We found half a log that I put next to the pole under the light bulb, with a bottle with a candle in it and our book standing near the candle. There we are. We have a little home.
The hospital unit would later move to Leyte in the Philippines, but her time in New Guinea left an indelible mark on her life. Years later, sitting in the piano bar at the top of the Mark restaurant in San Francisco, the music would still transport her back to those days in the South Pacific. Days that transformed a newly graduated nurse into a woman of remarkable strength and compassion. One of the most significant chapters in her service came in 1945 when she was assigned to the 126th General Hospital in Leyte, Philippines. On New Year's Day 1945, she made the journey from New Guinea to Leyte aboard the Emily H. M. Weider. During the quiet moments, she would sketch scenes of military life, capturing both its challenges and occasional moments of levity with her pen. Throughout her service, Sally maintained her humanity and sense of purpose, documented through the letters she sent home to her parents and friends. These weren't just correspondences, they were detailed accounts of history in the making, complete with hand-drawn sketches that captured beauties and perils of Army life in the Pacific Theater. Her attention to detail extended beyond medical duties, as she recorded the daily life of military personnel, the challenges of serving in the tropical conditions, and the camaraderie that developed among the medical staff. The hospital tents where she worked became a testament to both the horrors of war and the resilience of the human spirit. Sally treated not only Allied soldiers but also encountered Japanese soldiers who had surrendered. Noting in one of her letters about the handling of the hungry Nips soldiers, a reflection of the complex realities of warfare.
Dear Mom and Dad, August 2nd, 1945. People are starting to discuss life after the war. Strange to know that somewhere in the future this terrible war will be over out here too. Dear Mom and Dad, August 14th, 1945. For the past few days I've been dying to write to you that it is all over. That this terrible war has ended and what it was like over here when word first came over the radio. My wards were bedlam. What a time. I wouldn't have missed it for anything. Being on nights, that first night when the news of the surrender came over, my 4 wards went wild. I have never been hugged or kissed or spun around so many times in my whole life.
Sally's war experience would stay with her for the rest of her life, ultimately inspiring her to share her story through her memoir, Letters Home. Her service as a military nurse in World War II became not just a personal journey but a valuable historical account of the crucial role played by military nurses in the Southwest Pacific Campaign. She lived to be 101 years old, carrying these powerful memories with her and sharing them with future generations through her written words and sketches.
The following story emerged after a phone conversation with Greg Clarke on March 12, 2025. Greg, the nephew of Ada Clarke, shared these details after her story was discovered in the Bristol History Room at the Bristol Public Library. What follows contains exact quotes and facts as told by Mr. Clarke. War was not pretty, and Ada experienced traumatic events, yet her story demands to be told. She deserves more than to exist merely as words on a tattered piece of paper in a dusty box on a shelf. This content may not be suitable for small children.
Among the civilian internees liberated by American forces from the Santo Tomas camp in Manila was Miss Ada Clarke, 38, a missionary, it was learned Thursday. Miss Clarke's parents, Mr. and Mrs. John W. Clarke of 462 Washington Street, were notified of their daughter's release by a telegram from the Government Information Bureau in Washington, D.C. The telegram added that her condition was fair. Miss Clarke, a missionary for the Episcopal Church, went to the Philippines in 1938 and was last heard from by her parents about 3 years ago. At that time, she was teaching in a missionary school in Mindanao. Born in England, she came to Bristol when a young woman and was employed at New Departure for 7 years before entering the missionary service in 1933. She studied at an Episcopal school in New York City and attended Wellesley College.
In the quiet town of Bristol, Connecticut, few would have guessed that one of their own would become both a survivor of one of World War II's darkest chapters and a beacon of hope for countless Filipino children. Ada Clarke's journey from a modest New England upbringing to her transformation into a wartime survivor and eventual guardian angel to orphaned children embodies an extraordinary tale of resilience, forgiveness, and unwavering dedication to service. In a modest farmhouse at 462 Washington Street in Bristol, Connecticut, a remarkable woman once sat at her kitchen table, methodically toasting slice after slice of bread, until 3 entire loaves were toasted. It was 1946, and Ada Clarke had just returned from 4 years in a Japanese prisoner of war camp. The compulsive toasting wasn't a peculiar habit. It was the quiet revelation of a trauma that would later transform into an extraordinary mission of mercy. Ada Clarke was born in Middleton, England on January 25, 1907. Her brother George joined the family in 1909, completing the Clarke household of 4. Their father Jack, the youngest of his siblings, had blazed the immigrant trail ahead of them, supported by brothers and sisters who had already established themselves at New Departure Manufacturing in Connecticut. While Jack worked alongside his brother while living with him in his Washington Street home, he spent years methodically saving to reunite his family. In 1920, his patience and persistence paid off when Florence, known as Flo, 13-year-old Ada, and 11-year-old George finally stepped onto American soil. What drew Ada and her brother George to the Episcopal Church remains a mystery to their family. Their parents, Jack and Flo, weren't particularly religious, yet both siblings found their calling in the church army, a branch of the Episcopal Church. George became a passionate street corner preacher, traveling throughout Connecticut to establish Sunday schools, finding shelter with local parishioners who supported his mission. Meanwhile, Ada forged her own path. After graduating from Bristol High School, she spent 7 years at New Departure before hearing the call to missionary service in 1933. Her preparation was thorough. Studies at an Episcopal church in New York City, followed by time at Wellesley College. By 1938, she was bound for the Philippines while George has set his sights on Africa, both as missionaries for the church army. The Clarke siblings became minor celebrities within the church army circles. Their monthly letters to church headquarters in New York City, published side by side in the newsletter, painted vivid pictures of their overseas work and the communities they served. "Oh, you're from the famous Clarke siblings with the church," became a refrain their nephew Greg would hear throughout his life. When war clouds gathered over Europe in 1940, the church recalled George from Africa, deeming it too dangerous to stay. They attempted the same with Ada, but fate had other plans. The warning never reached her in time. Ada's world changed forever when Japanese forces invaded the Philippines. She was serving as a missionary in a local school, not just teaching but caring for boarding students. When the attack came, some Filipino staff members fled into the hills, taking Ada with them. But their escape was short-lived. The Japanese forces, in their hunt for the fugitives, confronted the Filipino principal, who did not reveal their hiding place. His loyalty cost him his life. He was hanged in his own office. What followed was 4 years of hell in Santo Tomas internment camp. Ada's recollections of this time came in fragments, shared with family over the years in what her nephew Greg described as an emotional dance.
Sometimes she wouldn't say anything, sometimes she'd open up a little bit, and sometimes a lot. It was with her the rest of her life.
The horrors she witnessed were beyond imagination. Women and children crammed into filthy quarters, systemic starvation, and unspeakable acts of cruelty, including the rape of female prisoners of war and the subsequent murder of the babies and the mothers. British prisoners of war, separated from the women and children, would risk their lives at night to hunt for food, sharing what little they could find. The experiences marked her so deeply that years later a backfiring motorcycle would send her diving for cover, her body remembering the sound of machine gun fire. She spoke of all the things she saw happening to the others, but never spoke of them happening directly to her. Her nephews wonder if she just spared them the details of her own torture. Ada's initial homecoming to the Washington Street farm revealed the depth of her trauma. In one particular poignant episode, she sat at the toaster for hours, mechanically toasting slice after slice of bread, working her way through 3 entire loaves. A quiet manifestation of the deprivation she had endured. But what makes Ada Clarke's story truly extraordinary is what came next. Instead of allowing her trauma to define her, she chose to return to the Philippines, to the very place where she had been imprisoned. Her mission was clear: to help the children orphaned by war, particularly the daughter of the principal who had died protecting her. With support from the church army, she established a sanctuary for these children, providing education, housing, and hope. For the remainder of her career, Ada maintained her connection to both worlds. To keep her U.S. citizenship, she would return home every 4 years for month-long stays with her brother George's family. During one such visit in the 1950s, a young Filipino woman, one of her former students, made the journey to America just to see her beloved teacher again. Ada never married, and in her retirement years in Pinellas, Florida, she insisted on being addressed as Miss Clarke, not Sister Clarke. She passed away in 1991, leaving behind a legacy that transcended her humble beginnings in Middleton, England and Bristol, Connecticut.
She was pretty extraordinary, her nephew Greg reflected years later. It's remarkable that she went back to the very place where she was held for 4 years. I would have never done it. For her to return and round up those orphans, school them, clothe and feed them, after being tortured in that same place for 4 years prior, is nothing short of extraordinary.
Ada Clarke's life stands as a testament to the power of forgiveness and service. While she insisted on the simple title of Miss Clarke, her actions spoke of something far greater. She transformed a place of darkness into a beacon of hope, embodying Arthur Ashe's definition of true heroism: not the urge to surpass all others at whatever cost, but the urge to serve others at whatever cost. Through her unwavering dedication to Filipino children who had lost everything, she proved that the greatest acts of courage often lie not in grand gestures, but in the daily choice to serve others despite our own scars. Miss Ada Clarke wasn't just a survivor or a missionary. She was, in every sense of the word, a hero who changed the world one child at a time. While Ada's story contains moments of horror, it showcases extraordinary triumph of the human spirit. The most powerful part of her story isn't in the hardships she endured, but in the hope they created. Ada Clarke showed us that even in war's darkest moments, the human spirit can triumph, and that healing hands can build a better tomorrow.
The shelves of our libraries, historical societies, and museums hold countless untold stories of extraordinary lives. Ada's tale, forgotten until it was unearthed from a box in the Bristol Public Library while doing research for this project, reminds us that every forgotten document could illuminate a remarkable life. These institutions don't just preserve our past. They keep our ancestors' spirits alive. By exploring their archives and sharing what we find, we ensure that these voices, these lives, These legacies continue to inspire future generations. Let's not let their stories fade into silence.